Welcome to the Bullpen. We go live every single Tuesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where I share everything I've learned when it comes to sales, lead generation, filling up those pipelines and converting people, and now building out my sales team. So today I want to share the best tech that I've used and that you can use to help you sell more. Because technology, there's so much happening right now when it comes to AI and all these tools that you can use to accelerate your business that just did not exist 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and especially 30, 40, 50 years ago. Everything has dramatically shifted. So there are 4 key themes or pillars I'm going to be speaking about today in terms of what I've used, lessons I've learned, what I used to use, what we use now, so that way you can just steal that and then apply it into your business. Because with tech can really accelerate and it can keep things from falling through the cracks. Because the most expensive thing in business is a missed sales opportunity just from poor operations or organization. And every business has it, especially with us, when we're in crazy time conference season and we're selling all these conference tickets, and we generate a lot of leads. When you have so much volume, you can miss things through the cracks too. So we've really tightened things up when it comes to tech, and tech's really helped us do a much better job in terms of squeezing out as much as we can from that lead pipeline. So the very first thing I want to touch on is your CRM, okay? Now, with your CRM, you have some options. And let me just explain my journey in terms of CRMs. And if you don't know what CRM is, it's a customer relationship management platform. So a long time ago, I remember when I was selling paint jobs to homeowners and I was door knocking, my CRM was literally a tub, like a Rubbermaid tub like this, with those file holders in it. And I had I had one for leads, I had one for proposals, one for signed contracts, one for jobs. And I would just physically move papers from one to the next. Back in the day, you had a card system that you would use. And the thing is, if I braked really fast in the car or in the minivan I was driving at the time, it would fall off the seat, everything would spill, and then I would have to put things back. And sometimes when you get really busy, you would forget to move a card from one spot to the next spot, and it just wasn't great. That's the way I used to do it a long time ago. And like I said, even before then, companies would use these card systems for keeping everything on track. Now with technology, it has totally you can basically run your whole business from your smartphone. I wish I had this. Back when I was doing painting, I had the flip phone, and you had to press the key 3 different times to get the right letter for your text messages. So with your CRM, I remember the first ones I used, they were pretty basic. So it allowed you to put your customer contact information in there. You could add some notes. You could add a different pipeline, because in sales, right, you've got a pipeline. So you generate your lead. You're probably going to qualify them or DQ them, whichever one it is. And then you're going to move them to a proposal, and then you'll go contract, etc., all the way down to a closed customer who's paid. That's your pipeline. Now, with these digital CRMs, all these different platforms, now you can automate a lot of this stuff. So, hey, when you do your proposal, it'll automatically send them the contract to sign. All of your signing can take place through the CRM, so everything's tracked. So the way we have it set up now, and this has changed everything. Every single phone call, text message, email that we send out gets logged into the specific contacts pipeline or feed. Now, why is this an advantage? Well, every company will have staff turnover. So you could have John working with you for 1 year, and then he gets poached by another company. He moves on, he moves, whatever it is. You have another employee take over. They have no idea what John was working on before. But with us, with the feed now, we can see text messages back and forth. We can see emails going back and forth. So anybody, your admin staff can jump in and automatically see exactly what's being sent ever since that contact was created. It's that never used to exist. And now because of tech, we can have this running log of all communication. Now, on top of that, we can track web visits in the CRM. So now we know, oh, well, this person, they came into our pipeline through this page. This is what time they clicked on it. These are all the different pages they visited. We just have so much more information. So now when we're on the phone with a prospect, we know exactly what they were looking at because they were visiting the relevant pages on the website. So instead of us wasting the prospect's time, we can just cut right to the chase and be like, hey, listen, I saw you were looking at, XYZ things. Let me help you with that. And we can get right into the meat and potatoes of that phone conversation or that conversation in general, rather than just wasting 5 minutes trying to get an idea of where they're at. Okay. Now, obviously, we can track, name, phone number. Now, the cool thing with our CRM now is we can track time zone. So with our conference, we've had people come from the UK, Europe, Middle East, Africa, all over. And so for us, trying to communicate with people, we want to know what time zone they're in. Now, the bulk of our customers are in Canada and the United States, but still, from Eastern time, Central time, all the way to the West Coast and everything in between, it's really important to understand time zone, because I don't want, if it's 9 a.m. Eastern, I don't want us to be calling PST. It makes no sense. And then we're going to end up waking people up if they left their ringer on, and then we get everybody upset. So our CRM logs time zone for the prospect as well. Any sort of questions we ask people when they opt in. So if we want to know their business revenue or their challenges, everything gets logged into one spot. So that was a really long way of explaining that literally anything to do with any of our prospects or our active customers is logged in the CRM. So whoever on our company who needs to access it, whether it's admin or the sales team, we can, in a quick glance, like one click, literally one click, everything is in one spot. And moving on, so we can even set appointments. So when we're on the phone with a prospect, whether it's our setting team or our closing team, and someone needs to get booked in with the relevant team member on our side, click, book appointment, and then everything automatically sends out. Reminder, emails, it goes in all the calendars, it sends the calendar invite, everything we need, one spot. Because here's the thing I've learned with CRMs, and with my earlier iterations of our CRMs, I just found that it was good, but we needed multiple pieces to work together. And anytime that it's not a one-stop shop, it doesn't get used and it falls apart. So I'm really, really, really happy with our current solution because everything is in the same spot. We email from the same spot, we call, we text, everything's done. So the reps, our staff, they go to one place, everything gets logged. Rather than, oh, well, we got to do this here, we got to do this over here. And I've had that in the past and it just broke down. Now, I don't think the technology was there yet to do, but now we are so fortunate with the tech that we have available to us to help us drive those sales through our pipeline. So CRM, if you don't have a CRM, but more importantly, if you don't have a CRM that does everything for you, that's a one-stop shop. If you're dividing your time between 3 or 4 different platforms, it's not sustainable in the long term. Buckle down, just find a CRM that does everything. Now, are there things I wish our CRM did differently? Yeah, you're never going to have 100%, but it's pretty close. Okay, so that's the CRM. You need to have a CRM that's tech-enabled right now. There's a lot of plug-in stuff with AI that you can use with it too. Really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I'll be doing some follow-up videos on that specific subject because it's really cool. Second thing that we need to do for your business in terms of tech to drive more sales, you need to have a dialer. Now, I just got finished saying everything happens on one platform. Yes, for individual calls, but this is how I treat prospecting on the phone. I think of it as the ocean. Okay, so here's our fisherman boat. That's a really bad boat. We got the fisherman in there with the hook. You get on your boat and you go fishing in the ocean. So this is where all of our leads live, that who we haven't contacted before. Uncontacted leads. We have the ocean. Our different reps, they'll throw in their hooks all over the place, and we're fishing for leads. We need to use a dialer for that. Now, what will a dialer do for you? Well, number one, it's going to allow you to call more than one person at the same time. Why does this matter? Efficiency. Like with us, we can dial up to 10 people at the same time. Now we don't, like our sweet spot's 4. So that means that we're dialing 4 different lines at the same time. Our connection rate is in the 20%. So think of it this way. For every single time our rep dials out, 25% of the time, somebody picks up. Now, you go back to the old days of having to punch in the number and dial. That was really time consuming and inefficient. Then we moved to, okay, well, now we can click the button and dial out one at a time. Great. And now we don't have to punch in the numbers, but we just click. But the problem we have with that is, when you're dialing through, especially now because nobody picks up their phone, it's going to take you a long time to get a live connection on the phone. So if we can just increase the number of people we dial at the same time, and the first person that connects gets connected to our rep, that just makes our rep stay way more efficient. It increases their number of conversations, and that in turn is going to increase the number of qualified calls they have, the number of offers they make, and the number of sales they have, or meetings booked, whatever metric you're using is. So with our dialer, you want to have multi-line, and I'm going to explain how phishing ties into this. So you have multi-line. So we use our dialer to fish in the ocean with our uncontacted leads. Now, as soon as we catch a fish, which is a conversation, we add that fish to the bucket. Now, each sales rep has their own bucket, and through that bucket, that's when we make the one-to-one phone calls. But when we're fishing, we're casting multiple lines out, and we're just trying to reel the fish in. But once we catch it, we put it in the bucket. Now that bucket, remember the sales pipeline I drew out before, like lead, qualified, proposal, etc. Each rep has their pipeline segmented with all those different buckets. So now let's say John has to call through his qualified list. He's going to dial one-to-one with the qualified list, but he's already contacted them. He's already spoken with them. That's very different from prospecting uncontacted leads, where we use the multi-line dialer to be efficient, to increase our connection rate, and then we're just adding them to the relevant bucket. So there's a bunch of different dialers out there. I've had decent experiences. I've had bad experiences. I haven't found a dialer that's amazing, because one dialer will have features that you wish the other dialer had, and vice versa. But our current dialer, it allows us to call multiple lines. Now, the other thing you want to make sure your dialer has is called local presence. Presence. Local presence, basically what this means is, how you get calls sometimes and it shows up as a local number, but then the person's office is in, the other side of the country or another country. That's local presence, where it shows up as a local number. Now, in my area, in Toronto, most of the area codes are 416 or 905. So if I see a 905 or a 416, I'm more likely to pick that up rather than if I see like a area code from across the country, because it's local. So our dialer allows us to dial out using a local number, and that again is going to increase our pickup rate. Now, the whole thing is about efficiency, because as a rep, you can sit there for 1 hour and dial through. You dial one at a time, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you get 4 conversations, right? 3 or 2. But if we can just use the technology available to us and dial more lines at the same time, but also show up as a local number, I'm just making my reps more efficient. So they're able to talk to more people in 1 hour blocks. They're able to get more qualified calls, more proposals, more meetings booked, more closes, more product sales, because I'm just providing my reps with the best tools so they can do their job the best, most efficient way. Does that make sense? Right? So if you're not using a dialer now, and you have a pipe, like you should have a lead pipeline because you're running your marketing and all that type of stuff. You have to call all of your leads. You have to, right? You have to call them. And your dialer can definitely help with that. Now, with the dialer, you can also set up SMS and text messaging as well. So not only are you calling the lead, but you're also messaging them. And I mentioned that with the CRM, like our CRM has messaging built in, okay? So number 2 is the dialer. Number 3 is bulk email. Now, I have to confess, when I first started sending emails, I had no idea what I was doing. And I burned a lot because I didn't understand bulk email. Now, over the past year, there's been a lot of changes to sending bulk email. Now, bulk email is categorized as if you're sending over 5,000 emails per day, you're now a bulk sender. And basically what's happening is all of the different platforms, Google, Outlook, they're trying to limit bulk senders, and now you end up in spam or the promotions tab. Now, as a business owner, if you have a large list, with us, when we launch our conference or when I host a live web class, like I've got a web class coming up tomorrow that we're doing, and I send out the reminder to everybody, we're sending it out to thousands and thousands of people. I'm now a bulk sender. So, you know how I mentioned the CRM at the start had everything and it tracked all the emails? That's true. So all of that gets tracked through the CRM. So if one of my sales guys sends out an email to a prospect, perfect, that's tracked. When you get into bulk emails, you have to be able to ensure that your emails are ending up as best as possible in the inbox, not in spam. So what I used to do with our CRM is I used to just say, okay, all contacts, send an email, and I used to just type out the email and we would send it to tens of thousands of people at one time. What happens, and especially now, is you get flagged as a bulk sender and you end up in the spam folder. So what you want to do is you want to find a bulk email platform that's designed for sending a lot of emails. Now that's very different from your personal email address, or if you use Google Suite for your business and you're sending one-on-one emails, very different. But if you're sending 5, 10, 20, 50, 100,000 emails at one time or in one day, where there's some business, like especially with us in conference season, we send a lot of emails, a lot. You need to use a platform that's purpose-built for bulk emails, for sending a lot of volume, because with their ISP and just all the things on their back end, they're just better equipped. And then there's things that they can do in terms of rotating domains, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they can do. But if you're just using your Google account just to send out a mass email, or if you're using your CRM to send out mass email, I promise you're probably burning your domain and you're probably ending up in spam more often than not, because you're doing it like I used to. Those CRMs aren't designed for mass email. Now, there are platforms like that. There's MailChimp, Instant Contact, Brevo, there's a bunch out there. You can just Google, mass email platforms. But you want to specialize in terms of that. Now, you can plug that in and integrate with your CRM. So now everything's still tracked, but the actual sending is not going to occur on your CRM anymore. It's actually going to occur on the bulk email platform. And then you can get into some cool stuff. So there's A/B testing. So you can actually test subject lines. So you can say, okay, take 10% of my list, and I want to test this headline versus this headline. Oh, well, this headline wins. Great. Now let's send the email out to the other 90% of the list. There's really cool things. Or some other platforms, you can actually send the email at the best time for the receiver, for the prospect. So it's going to track when they likely open up emails. And now your system, your platform is going to send out that email to the best time for that prospect, rather than just say, hey, I want to send all my emails out at 11 a.m. EST. So you can use a lot of tech to just communicate better with your list and with your customers and your prospects. If you're not using this stuff, you're missing out on a ton of money. And like I said, I've messed up with this before. You want to use a bulk email sender. Now, last but not least, so I've talked about prospects and I've talked about, pipelines and keeping in touch with them. The last thing I want to talk about is tracking. Because if we're doing anything, if we're sending out emails, if we're sending out, if we're doing paid marketing, if we're sending out flyers, I don't care what it is, we have to have a way of tracking how people come into our pipeline. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can have your CRM compile reports. So there's something called, for paid ads, there's something called a UTM code. So when you click on a link, on an ad, and then you see the website pop up in your bar. So it'll say www.whatever.com. Then it'll say / question mark, and it'll have a whole bunch of letters and numbers. That's actually the UTM code. Now, what this is doing is this is sending data back to the advertiser. So we can say, okay, well, this person clicked on this ad from this campaign. They went to this web page, and that allows the advertiser to track, okay, well, the past 20% of my sales are coming from this ad, another 40% of my sales are coming from this ad, 10% are coming from this ad. So we can see which ad is the most effective, especially when you're spending large amounts of money. Like with our conference, we spend a lot of money on paid media, and tracking is huge with that. Also, and this goes back to direct mail. So back in the direct mail days, you would test by having different phone numbers. So you would send out, batch A on one side of town with phone number A on it, and then batch B would have a second phone number. And then you would track the number of calls that came into those specific numbers. Same type of idea here with UTM with paid media. But the thing is, it just is so much easier, and now you can auto compile it. So you can even set up, through Zapier, which connects all these different apps. You can set up a Zap, so it automatically adds every time there's a new lead that comes in. It adds to the spreadsheet, and then you can actually have it auto create, charts and everything too. Now that being said, in practice, I've actually found it better to have somebody manually create the Excel sheets, because there's always stuff that falls through the cracks, and then there's a gray area because one person came through this ad and then they called in about this thing. So you want to have, at least for me, I found it better to have one person focus on creating those manual sheets, but you can definitely use automation to help make their job easier, and then they're just going in and tweaking. But if you ask me, I would much rather have a real person cover that type of stuff. So tracking, especially with paid media, huge. If you're doing direct mail still, great. Use those different phone numbers. Use different QR codes. Hey, scan here. And then you're going to send them to a different page with a different UTM code, and now you can track it that way. But if you're spending money out, if you're putting money out into the marketplace, you have to know where it's going, and you have to know how that money's coming back to you in the form of paid customers. So I actually, tomorrow night, I think I'm going to be spending a little bit more time on the tracking side with this type of stuff, but it's huge. Like, you have to be able to track. And one of these things, so I've covered CRM, I've covered the dialer, I've covered bulk email, I've covered ad tracking. One of these things on their own, it can make a small impact. Like, I can run tracking and make an impact, but if I'm not running a good CRM platform, it doesn't matter. Or I can have a dialer, but if I'm messing up with bulk email, like, it's not going to work either. So all four of these things, you want to basically spend a day. If you're missing one of these four, spend a day. Don't worry about anything else. Just be like, okay, I need to fix this. I need to implement. Here are my options. This is what I can do, and just do it. Implement. Over the years, we've changed providers. We've switched over. And it's not that big of a deal. You just want to find something that works for you. But if you don't have it, I guarantee the best thing you can do for your business right now is put in this tech, because this tech will help your business. It will make you more efficient. It will allow you to track. It will make it easier to onboard new staff. It will make it easier for you to contact your clients. It's going to be easier for you to contact your clients in the way they want to be communicated with. There's so much that goes into this, okay? So when it comes to tech, get your CRM set up, get your dialer set up, learn how to send bulk email as you're building your list, and last but not least, track everything. You can even track links that people click on in your email so you know what's actually working, what's not, and that's going to help you fine-tune and hone in your marketing so you know exactly what's hitting. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. Tech's made a big difference in terms of my business, and if you're not using it, you have to, because you're burning money otherwise. All right, so I'll see you next week on the bullpen.